January 15th, 2020, 12:18 a.m. I'm going to put out a video as such. What do you do when you don't have a life? What do you do when life has been destroyed intentionally? Not just by life not being correct and personally having any sorts of problems besides being financially, work, job, extra problems where somebody is intentionally attacking, creating whatever problems they can due to disliking you. Not only just a person, a group of people searching and seeking out, almost like the movies, but it isn't a movie. It's reality. It's real. It's true pain. It's a real human being. It's not an actor. It's not a situation. But movies like Vile, that kind of ideology behind it. And I'll give an example of Vile. It's almost like the movie Saw. But with Vile, they go through some certain courses of pain where they have to create pain on themselves, and there's a device hooked to them. And it takes the secretion of the mind, that extra chemical that's created by pain, and puts it into a vial. And they have to fill the vial up before their neck band, unlocks and they get set free. So they have to go through excruciating pain because in the movie, the brain only creates these chemicals and that certain chemical just minutely. And they're in there cutting themselves, burning themselves, doing all kinds of nasty stuff, stabbing each other, whatever could create pain. And if you watch that, that's the torment value at the minimum that I've been through. From this group of people saying it's social science research, they have a right to do this. Anything that they can do, systematic assaults, emotional, physical, everything, sexual rapes, everything. I've been through it all, including life loss, because if you try to do what I'm doing, is go get a job, you go try to just get into society again, there's no ability. I've been cut off. I'm long time cut off. This has been ongoing forever. But with that being said, me trying to build myself up, and think about it, well then, why don't you just build yourself up? Forget the people, don't hang with nobody, become a loner until you're secure enough, but at the same time, while you're becoming or trying to, build yourself all up also to be able to get a job and stuff like that, and someone interfering with that, much less applying for a job and them walking in, disgracing or causing a disgracement, a social application, and that's only a work part, to where either the employer doesn't hire, or even if they do hire, the social environment's already destroyed, so you're not going to be, or I ain't going to be, able to work that job. Sensitive and being called touchy after everything that's happened, while they're applying this emotional, social pain that they're saying is handled, manageable, deal with it. That's just one of their antics. Think of a life with no family, not understanding family values, or not being allowed to have family values by the family that is also part of the perpetration of assaults and participation. A monstrous brother, an older brother, but there's also the younger brothers, completely outright tormenting. You're ugly, you're this, we don't want a part of your life because that inflicts on ours. Social views, our friends don't like you because you're unnormal. You look different. And that's just the start of it. Having an older monstrous brother that has mafia ties, the family per se has mafia ties, and I was never allowed into that understanding of life. Matter of fact, even the mafia per se part of it is just that. Your kid can't be a part of us. You should put him into a, we call it group home, foster care. Putting it onto my mom, making it out in front of me, and I do believe that was also part of the social antics for futuristic assaults, futuristic applications, and them being present, either profiling, utilizing whatever they can to socially induce into society, utilizing it to govern the feelings, the emotional values they have, power and control, utilizing me in the system, threatening the system. You didn't intervene, so we want something out of it. We're victimized because he's ugly, he has lazy eye, he's different, he's this or that. Does that sound like love? Does that sound like a lifetime of love? And that's even coming not even just from, just somebody else. That's family, that's life. Even since a child. Trying to get over it. Being able to get out and get a job. Being able, dropped education because of the problems. And having your older brother tell you he wants your job. Say I went on temporary leave and he actually filled in for me. It was a company, it wasn't like Mickey D's. It was a sweeper company that I did backpack blowing for, which I was just a side hand, not a truck driver. Means I did the odds and end jobs. Well, he was a temporary relief because he knew I was leaving. And what the shitty thing about that is it was leaving for a grandfather's funeral here in Columbus, Ohio. Back then we was out in Colorado Springs. And then when you get back, the temporary relief, he's already had a bunch of mishaps already. Or, assaultive situations towards myself. But in a viewpoint, I guess, of somebody else's, maybe I'm trying to take it into a third-person stance so people understand it. But they, or he, my brother, tried to snatch my job from me while doing it meanly. You don't need to be working. You don't need to be doing this. I was already 17 and a half or 18 by then. All kinds of other mishaps. Well, you caused basically like defecation on my life just by being ugly, but by other things. And I did some minor things that I've already talked to psychiatrists and stuff about. And yeah, I slipped up some things to some people, and it caused him grief. But no more grief than what they already caused me, because some of those slip-ups that I had talked about was personal related problems to myself and his actions. That being said, that type of unloving situation, while you also have his group of people that he's building, and they're building to socially attack me. We value your brother, we don't value you. That's alright, that's cool. I don't hang out, fine. Don't hang out with the older brother. Public situations, social life, doesn't matter. Leaving the house, there's a problem. There are people. Making community contacts, even if their people ain't like there presently, they made community contacts. They need to know my whereabouts. This is the community actions. This is the controlment. He doesn't do these things in public, or else I want to know about it. Or the group has to know about it. His group of people. I never made friends. Started realizing making friends is hard because the people that are around understand somebody's profiling hard. And on top, it can ruin life. They're utilizing antics of whatever they can, no matter what it is, to diss, insult, aggravate, harm, assault, everything under the sun. So nobody wants to be friends with you. Not only just family, the family brother and the family being a part of that, making it mafia and other ties that I'll explain later and have, of Italian mobs, different mobs that's been associated with inside the family, and they've all completely put me down, especially the mob situation here in Columbus, Ohio, the community relation stuff. And that's another thing. They make it out, community relations, your brother has a right to do this. Starting to make it out, here, just go by what we tell you, and we'll try to treat you normal or allow you to do what we tell you you're allowed to do. You're not free. You're not an independent for yourself, but there's no paperwork for this. And later on in life, which is already understood as devastating, even the psychiatrist, the institution, which I was probated in, and at which point was agreed that I was systematically being assaulted by those probates, perjuries, and lies, also agreed with that situation of, it's illegal, they didn't have a right to do that. They didn't even have a right while they're pressing and threatening, and made it enforceable because there was corrupt law enforcement involved. Not only what I found out other family members being in law enforcement and them making contacts, I had no contact barely with any of my family. Maybe my grandfather, I had an uncle that committed suicide. He wasn't too great with me either in one sense, and in another sense he kind of was. A little bit of relievance because he started going through a lot of depressing pains himself and ended up committing suicide. Someone trying to force onto me that I'm part of the cause of his suicide. I'm part of the cause of what's happened in the family because of my supposed disability, which is possibly, which was already understood, more than likely, caused by what is defined as child abuse, child neglect of shit, and the traumatizations that I've been through causing me to definitely develop differently. I want to put in that I just researched again, even though my research ain't research. It's just look it up. Is there an answer to the question? Can abuse cause mental retardation or a retardation or a developmental disability? Yes. Written in 1977. On top of that, could also create, if it isn't just developmental disability, mental issues besides PSTD. But that's the thing now. Everything causes PTSD or PSTD, whatever it is. So, understanding that, never getting any help. When the help came, it was under ridiculement of how the family perceptualizes and wanted what value from that help from the counselors. And I remember back in the day, though, it went to an extreme to where the counselor, instead of scorning and scolding me, which shouldn't have been really happening, and causing me to feel that, I need to change myself, realized, well, then it's going to be put into this scenario, and since it's already understood, no, actually, some of the fault in talking to my mother, my brothers, and everything else is on you guys. And not just fault, but the things that he's doing, allow him to live life rather than crucify him. But they couldn't tolerate that. Not only could they not tolerate it, the people that they was tied into, which is other mafia, crime world, and even worse than that, starting to get into actually being manipulated to where it looks like it was, where it's law enforcement, undercover shit possibly, or whatever, or other family members persuading things back and forth, going into other government agencies and everything else. On top of social community in Colorado Springs, there's tons of military there, tons of intelligence. So the associations they built with the other people that are a part of the army, part of this, part of that, next thing you know, I'm getting somebody that is in here trying to utilize scientific behavioral research and controlment. I won't say that's just the only cause, but that's just one explanation and one identifiable piece of evidence I can say I can recognize. And the Navy, the Air Force, whatever it be, utilizing government funding to research the traumatizations that I'm going through. Don't have paperwork for it, but it was talked about. And I remember when it was talked about, I was then confused. I was understanding that I'm underneath some type of exertment of powerful controlment. And somebody involved, and I didn't seem that it was fair, but somebody saying, you don't disobey basically the government, you don't disobey what rules are, you don't disobey us. We're the authorities, you are nothing. And always in life that way. It leads out into corruption. Police form, somebody intentionally getting involved with the police also, them seeing it being a loophole to where they can utilize certain techniques, tactics, and beneficials to their own life, even though it may not be much, but to be able to participate, which I'm going to explain this. I talked to the psychiatrist. Respect is the same thing as money. Money may buy things. Respect buys you respect, good feeling from the group, good feeling from the people that's around. And they was in here not only dealing with the money and being rich, but I won't even say they was rich, but the money richness of it, but the respect richness, the power game that they played, the power freak show. They have power that's also assetable just like money, the power to dominate, to control, to socially interfere, or without putting it like interfere in a bad way, to socially control my day-to-day life right in my face without legally doing it because I was a minor and you better obey, without me being a delinquent child completely, but utilizing harsher tactics than any other delinquent child or any other representable situation of family and everything else. Mine was always off. Mine always had extra exuberant amount of power. This group of people now portray themselves, or the mafia part takes over, and all this gangland shit and all the rapes and all the shit happen. That's what you get. You're a mental retard that don't need to be around us. I always give proof and evidence. I moved a few times, or tried to. They stalked and followed, which is called interstate stalking. Their demands to get away. Is it fair that I got away and they followed me? So now, hey, fuck you. We control whatever we want to. You want to treat us like shit. I had problems juvenilely where I explained to the doctors, and some of it was just juvenile situations, depending on how you take it. But in the situation that I was in, it wasn't very harsh or strong, that I became prone to looking for a gang to join or something to be a part of, even if it was criminal or not. To set a claim, to set that there's values, a family back, some type of social power that I would have. And like the psychiatrists say, usually there's something very severe and bad in a family and going on around that influences that. It's not always just a direct decision, it's usually influenced. I don't know what I just said before, but I think there's enough power to say there's at least some type of influence. Much less the social life that was going on without all the other stuff going on and the influences of that. So I get in and I was fucking all messed up as a juvenile. I won't say I became a gang member. There is a sign that was thrown to me. Here, set this claim, set this. It ended up coming out to being nothing later on. And I mean, it was about 10 years later, a full-blown 6-week investigation, 24/7 was done, and they could not affiliate me, and I was already devastated in life. A lot of devastation, loner and devastated, almost maximally, until later on that it got worse, maximalized. Never thought it could get that worse, but it has, and obliterated completely. Even a psychiatrist tells you that. Institutional state representatives or county representatives, not state. And that's some of the words that are coming from. And I don't like talking about that because that disgraces. It's seen as an abnorm. It has the ability to say you're different from us. So, by being of one social class or one social group, go find your own kind of people. I've been forced into, devastated, basically, to mental illness, devastated into mental retardation. So should I have to go find other mentally retarded people to hang with? And then a devastating factor now, in a sense, I won't say yes or no, but basically, that's my only way out. I don't have anything for anybody else. While there's people that come in, they're backstabbing. And they'll come in and like, we're trying to help you. We'll have fun. We'll do this. We'll do that. Only for a little minute amount of time so we can say we participated with you, to turn around and backstab. The ugly, you're disabled, you're this, we know how you work, we know everything about you, you're stupid, you ain't gonna make nothing with this, you ain't nothing, you couldn't even be a part of us, you're not right, you're not this, you're not that, and on top of that, we intentionally backstabbed you. Devastating shit. Anyways, carrying out with this, they're crucifying me for the gang affiliation that doesn't even affiliate, was non-affiliated for many, many years. What comes around karma. We're only treating you this way because you treated us this way. The situation was investigated in 2005-6. It's 2019. Tell me I'm completely in another city away from where possibly the gang that I was a part of even existed. I've been away for 12 or more years, plus all the other stuff that's happened that I can't run into this video. But anyhow, So why are you crucifying me interstately, understanding who and what I am, but also utilizing you understand what's going on in my life, which causes paranoia for sure for anybody. It's no different than somebody telling you where you ate lunch yesterday, who your wife is, your kids, if that's private enough. But hey, that's public. Let's get in deep. You've been looking at mental health on your computer type of situation. Something that nobody else knows. It's a private device, privacy type of situation. And somebody exposing, or it ain't the word expose, but causing it to be publicly known, and publicly saying that it's known, they know it. Another party besides yourself knows it and utilizing it against you anyways. With that being said, here in Columbus, Ohio, even though in Colorado it was also corrected, of this gang life situation. Hey, you want to act like a gang member? I'm going to act like a gang member. Matter of fact, we all became gang members just to outdo you. You don't have nothing that is thorough, definite. You are nothing but a waste. You are nothing but a nothing. You're worthless. You have nothing. We made it, and we're forcing it in your face. No matter what I do, even getting away from them, no matter what I do, their intent is to challenge anything and everything of myself. Nobody ever put a stop to it. Some of this, I won't say never, but basically it never stopped. It stuttered, it was maybe stunned a little bit, but never stopped. Those, and like I explained, some of it was because of those who wanted maybe to stop it involved, was too afraid of the factors against me, while they also seen the government, and that includes law enforcement, police, mental health, everything else, not doing nothing about it, misrepresenting shit themselves. And I'll get back into the ideal real quick to jump on that situation to give examples of misrepresentation fraudulently for a reason of their own benefit. As I think it was in the late 80s, early 90s, where the FBI was kicking in mental health doors across the United States for illegally, bunch of mental health. Not just a little bit here, not a community, not a state. Everywhere in the fucking United States it was going on. Where they kicked on the door, where they was writing illegal prescriptions just to get the money off of it. What do you call it? Not a commission, but because they, as a doctor, they get money for the prescriptions they write. Not the money from the prescription, but for doing the work of writing the prescription. For writing out false diagnosis. For holding people and utilizing the Medicaid for fraud. Billing Medicaid $10,000 when it was only $8,000 worth of service. It built up. If you look at the website, I think I have the video up there. I'll put it up there, and if requested, if anybody ever does watch this, that wants to see that video, it's a video. It's an investigatory video and a documentary of what happened. And it explains just that. Illegal mishaps. And that's the way these people took the actions around me. There was no trustworthy to the system. You have corruption, government corruption, mass dominating shit. Hey, remember though, definitely understand that they was the government. They're in control. They are the force. They will utilize whatever force that they want to control you. They are the authorities. They dominate. How would you have fear and like to have that fear of wrongdoing, but nobody cares because the top dog, the biggest player, everything of power is working against them, against you, because this top dog player is saying so, the government. Wrongfully doing. You have no place to turn to. You have nobody to represent it because the representables that's supposed to take care of the situation was the ones doing it. Semi to like, well, there are means, there are places to go to take care of corruption, like internal affairs, and there was an investigation with that. Years later, after my complaints, and me being called a schizo, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Internal affairs finally got caught up in Colorado Springs for throwing people's fucking reports in the trash, telling them that they'll be arrested if they make another complaint or if they continue with their actions. Behaviorally disruly. You don't force things onto me even though you're creating a report, and that's forcing it onto me. I took your first report and threw it in the trash because it means nothing. That you don't file a second one, that's behaviorally disruly. It was found out not by myself, but by many others all of a sudden later on, that they put in complaints to an upper internal affairs, and it was found out that was going on, and many cases wasn't represented, much less people were violated, being threatened of being put in jail, put in incarceration, or having situations taken, much less the scolding, much less if there's a problem going on. Those problems never were resolved because internal affairs not got involved with them. So that person doesn't have representation for their problem now. And they're also affected, much less myself being affected, of saying there's no paperwork because of another corrupted act that was supposed to have taken care of that. That type of sabotaged feeling, that's not just hurt, overwhelming, and it never quit, it never got over. I'm sitting right here today, and that's why I'm making this video. Obliteration, I just wanted to explain just a part in a quick video, and not even quick, of the pains that are being caused, much less what I have become, completely crippled and disabled mentally. Besides even talking about implants, neuromodulators, vagus nerve stimulators that are not even on paper. That's the reason why I can't talk about them. Being threatened, being shocked day to day, being mind wiped is the way I'll put it. Being, under our controlment. But even the psychiatrist, even legal firms, everything else, there's nothing in paperwork that says anything has been implanted, a surgical procedure has been done. I guarantee I'm going to put it on Jesus Christ, even though that doesn't mean shit to anybody in certain senses. Doesn't matter, you can put it on your own life, it wouldn't matter unless you have solid evidence. But I am putting it that there is January of 2010, don't know if it was like the 26th or 28th, drilled in the forehead here. I had a scab here for 2 years straight. Matter of fact, I had a scab, say maybe a year or something like that, year and a half. It was less, but I still had the red mark and the roughness for up to 2.5 years. And if you use a black light, you can see it, or used to be able to. Right here, where they drilled in. Put wires inside the fucking head, a neuromodulator, all kinds of shit. Illegally. Why didn't I fight back? I was intoxicated, almost blacked out, drunk, helpless. And then on top, by the time I did say no, they done fucking stinted me with an inhibitor to the point I was awake, but I couldn't move. While they kept me awake during the fucking surgery. It wasn't even surgery. They didn't even do it properly. To install deep brain stimulators and stimulators as such, they usually use the eyes as head thing. They hook it on the head. That way they can adjust the exact screw marks where to drill in. Dude didn't even do that. I remember an old man with glasses. White man. He wasn't very big, but I won't say height, but as in body size, he wasn't humongous. There was also a police officer there. I was shocked with 2 electrical probes from an electroshock machine that they utilize on other fucking mental health patients. The cop intentionally cranked it, and I said, and I remember, it sucks that how can I be blacked out kind of drunk and this be going on and me remember it, but I have good memory sometimes, and that's an incident I think you'd remember. It's no different than being raped. But anyways, turn it up past 10 per se. Just cranked the knob till it broke, or almost broke. And the probes against the side of my head, shocking me. That was the last jolt. I came out of some of the drunkenness. I was so drunk, even though I came out of it. I did pass out later on. Don't know how much more was done, but I do remember being drilled in the lung, having a shunt suck up the left side of my leg, which was where your main artery is, and wires being fed through that. No different like a vagus nerve stimulator also. And there's just a mixture of different shit. Then the next morning, I was in an ICU that's not even reported on paper at that hospital. I got out of a room that was private. Had a cabinet or a closet with my clothes in it, a bed by itself, and a wood door, I do believe it was, that you had to walk out of, a private room, ICU type of room. It wasn't even recorded on paperwork. The incident of where I went to the hospital because I was transferred that night between 2 different hospitals. Not getting off of what the main reason of the story is or the video, but this is a major incident. And on top of everything else, not being able to control even my own mind, being able to deal with things while everybody else, hey, we fucked you completely type of shit. We did this to you. And on top of that, it's not only illegally done, we did it because we set you up, we criminally charged you, we set you up in a crime and sabotaged you, so we did this to you. either false fucking perjurizing a crime and other situations that may be been set up. I'm not going to talk about because it is a setup. Sabotage wouldn't be my fault. Kidnapped or associated, and then somebody making it out, well, he was hanging with us, so he's the perpetrator while they committed the fucking crime. Anyways, with that being said, drilled in the lungs, drilled in all this shit, the paperwork. I went to the one hospital where this happened at. I was transferred between two hospitals. They had a blank record. They had all kinds of people, presidents, like the hospital president or vice president, technicians come in to try to extract why the record's there to begin with. Without a certain amount of specified data, the record should not even be admissible into the computer. It should have kicked it. Somehow it was stayed put. I had a printout. I was kind of homeless, traveling at that time, ready to come back to Columbus, Ohio with that piece of paper that had been good enough to say, hey, let's start an investigation. They don't know why I was there. They don't have this or that. Nope, that paper was either stolen or lost. I'm going to say stolen in a sense because somebody would have picked it up off a park bench when I wasn't looking. A bunch of black individuals. Once again, this gets into gang stalking and other things I didn't want to put in this video, but it goes to show the force of power and the nature behind like mafioso, gang grouping. And these are street gangs besides group and gang stalking, which is also involved of the other sense of gang stalking that people talk about. Just people with no affiliations except for the wanting to gang stalk somebody. Either ruin their life, do whatever they want to. Profile, utilize that person as scientific research or a project for themselves. Anyways, group of blacks going haywire. I sat down, I got back up, I realized I walked down the street as I overheard them snatch his paper, and I didn't think nothing. I thought it was secure. And it wasn't. It was in the back pocket of mine, and I was pickpocketed, possibly. Or it slipped out on the park bench, and it was picked up when I went to turn to get a drink, or turn whatnot. The guy next to me picked it up. Next thing you know, I remember him walking off real quick, type of situation. A lot of blacks involved, but there's tons, and it ain't just blacks. There's everybody under the sun. They've turned it into a race war type of situation. Hey, you want to be racist? We'll turn every race against you and apply it against you. Since the juvenile. Nothing to stabilize life, nothing to help, except to attack. There is no way out. It's just be attacked. That's what you get. That's what you deserve. Even looking into racism, if you look at racism, you look into white supremacy, you look into Nazi, you're trying to find a group will apply mass effect to you. And did. Will cause a race war right back at you. We still don't like you. You're ugly, filthy, nothing. You're a degenerate to us. We don't give a fuck. You're trash. And this is what your trash ass gets. You don't think the government didn't pick that up? Don't you think it sounds wrong? Especially when there's multi-organization, multi-groups of different types of stability. Even the fucking government can't deal with it. They're trying to force that. Hey, his life's so chaotic, maybe you ought to lock him up for life. Sabotage completely to the point of obliteration. Life-threatening, even though it's not just the physical part, it's still just as seen life-threatening as them obliterating the ability to socialize, and live in society. Discriminating to the point I can't live in Columbus, Ohio. Never was able to. But the whole point is that under that disgrace, that amount of power, it's unlivable. That's life-threatening. You have females in here utilizing the ideal of relationship or, as a female human, you're so fucked up you're never going to have nothing. Participating with the group and or not. But intentionally creating harm. Backstabbing situations. Flirtatious, and then turn right back around and try to sabotage it any which way that they can. There's just so much multitudes to that. Much less disheartening. Disheartening to the effect intentionally. Disheartening intentionally, yes, it causes weakness and emotional stir. They're trying to create death with it. Anyways, there's just the first part of life. For those who say they're understanding, they've had 8 years since a psychiatrist understood a lot of shit. The truth flowed out on a psychiatrist's fucking table while they're playing around also with law enforcement. We know everything about you. Then why wasn't any of the things that I talked about represented there? Only the things that benefited, because only the things that benefited themselves, their group, and the organizational shit going against me. Nothing that was anything positive for myself. No escape, no way out. Understanding to escape would be move. And then they realized as doctors, when I'm talking about that incident, talking to the doctors, psychiatrists, whatever they are, counselors, it was okay, move. They realized I did move. There's also things I've done after I've been there. I took off, moved, and I was followed. So that ideal of escape, here's how you deal with it. This way of the offered of dealing, now they understand, has completely been sabotaged too. There's people in authoritative positions allowing, training, and helping these people also produce their situation. Damn, for somebody that isn't nothing, that doesn't have any capabilities, you've applied basically like I'm a fucking terrorist and have beaten me like a terrorist without any evidence, any calls, whatnot. And I've been beaten worse than a fucking terrorist. Being raped and being threatened, that's what you get. You better go do something with yourself. Being physically assaulted, being burnt to the point I had battery acid on my face. I'm done. The ones that are in here, oh, now we'll deal with this. We'll deal with it. We'll accept you. What's that? After life obliteration? After you participated for decade or decades with the group that is I am and the people and the animalized situation, and I should accept you. But and then play the game, since you're not accepting us, but we are better value. Why won't you? It ain't even a why. You better accept us. So they start to snap back off to where they started out being what the fuck they are to begin with. Snapping off, well, then you ain't gonna get jack shit, and on top, fuck you. Just basically wasn't there to help. To live life. What are you doing? Trying to live off my victimization? To have the feeling, the emotional, not even to feel the pain, but to exert, to get sympathy for themselves. To utilize me to get something for themselves. I'm done. Calling out my older brother Jake, which ain't even his real name, it was a nickname. And them playing a game with that. Haha, you can't even affect him because Jake doesn't exist. Except for in your own fucking head type of situation. Legally, Jake is not representable. But Jake, your brother Jake's everything. We give him everything. And then intentionally utilizing sexually oriented relationship bullshit. Not even just kiss relationship and you'll never have nothing yourself. But literally getting freak showed with it. Intentionally creating drama, creating an emotional distress, and intentionally assaulting with it. I don't know how to pit it. It was pit by the psychiatrist that way, in a certain way. And I said that way. I was trying to think and conjure it up. But they put it in a better, technical, professional way. And anybody, I don't have to feel guilty. I shouldn't have to feel sorry for myself that I was in the situation and so incapacitated or so developmentally disabled. I don't know how to explain what I'm explaining. I shouldn't have to. It's not on me. It's on the people listening. But literally trying to do and commit acts in front of me to create hysteria, to cause me to blow up between emotional afflictions and inflictions and being nothing. Hey, if that's the case, trying to play off, if that's the case, you wouldn't have a problem with it. You would allow it to go on. So, see, you have problems you need to solve. Let's go talk to psychiatrists and everybody else about it and see what kind of problem I got, which was already talked about, even with law enforcement in Colorado Springs finally catching on to things. And I will end this, even though this isn't 100% a part of the situation, but it is. They started catching on to this organized situation, it being organized first of all, and being amount of power that it was. Individuals on buses being pulled off of buses. Who the fuck? What the fuck are you doing? We seen what you do. The buses have video. There's somebody else here watching you that witnessed it that you don't know, that especially they're watching it. And understand, you're in here doing shit in behind his head. It isn't even just like, hey, maybe slap me or maybe say something nasty, you're ugly, but relating to things and forcing things. If you do not do this, we're going to get you. Or, and, hey, you remember what happened at Jake's apartment? You ain't shit. We're rolling around throwing our shit, socially fucking completely obliterating you and threatening everybody else with the same type of hurt and pain. If they get involved and help you out, we'll fuck them over too. But on top of that, doesn't matter. Just the infliction of social view, somebody else seeing that, oh, damn, he's been kicked down. It is worthlessness, but also maybe socially involved. The view and points of the people that were around being socially stigmatized. I'm done. TargetOfUnlawfulActs.com. Peace. I'm out for now. That's just a little bit of what's going on.